Can you imagine me finding my CIBC records? I had to find a couple of days to go through them, and I knew in my mind what was going on, and here I found that monthly statements were in different type styles and different amounts at the bottom. And I found investor services where I had my investments. And I said, I sold two stocks and they're not in the January 2008 statement. They're not, where's the money? And he had $6,000 on page 2 at Investor's Edge that wasn't shown on my page 2 in my papers. We had the same month, January 2008. $6,000 was not sold stocks for 2 on my page 2, and it was on his. He had 4 pages and I had 3 pages for the same month. And overnight, mine was taken out of my purse and 4 pages were put in and 6,000 was on the second page. Can you imagine that? Where did... And I found it. In 2008, from the beginning to the end of my Investor's Edge account, 144,000 missing. The month endings didn't agree with the endings. One of them, a friend. And I held that paperwork. It was all taken on me, but I gave Ernest & Young, they're the auditors from CIBC. I gave them all the copies that I had found, different amounts. And how could monthly statements be in different type styles? I had an office with my business, and even the bank logo was a different color, sometimes red, sometimes black and white, sometimes black for the same month. And I had all that information. There's that 6,000. And then I also gave copies to the ombudsman for banking. I put them down at Toronto Street. The same the original copies I gave him. And there was a Mr. DeRocco there. He said he worked there for 5 years, ombudsman banking services. He didn't know how to get into the office. He had to knock on the door. And the girl, Tina Lucas, or Tina Dukas, everything's my memory because all my papers are gone. She opened the door to let him in. She was a nervous wreck. And then sitting at a table talking to him, and a lawyer came in, the ombudsman. His name was Douglas something. And he had a piece of paper he wanted me to sign, signing over all my everything to him to look after. But no letterhead on the top, and I refused. And Tina started crying and wanted to go out of the office. And he told her to sit down. She no longer works there. I was first told she's on vacation. Then I was told that she's gone. And everybody that's a witness has gone from their job. Everybody disappeared from their job. And they decided not to investigate. They told me there was no trace of money missing. And then I discovered my papers that had given both those two places copies. Mine were all changed, not what I had. And then I contacted them and said I want copies of what I gave them, and no answer ever. Never got any answer. And I'm missing hundreds of thousands from my accounts. And I told you about June the 1st going into. Do you want me to tell you that again? June the 1st, I went into CIBC on Laird. It's number 6112. And I was worried. There was I had nothing in my apartment for that account. Investor services. I had 154,000 in it. All of my papers were gone. So I went into the bank and I said I want to check on this account. And they told me I didn't have it. They said there was no such account. If you don't leave, I'll call the police. 2 bank people had to help me out. My chest started going and sweating, and they helped me out to my car. And then someone from the bank lineup came out and said that they were told, I imagine, money's missing. And I found an envelope in my car. That account, Investor Services, the April statement, 154,000. There's a camera in my car. How else would Krista Teller know to come out to the parking lot to tell me I was not going back in the bank? Right? He came out and said, I'm not going to let you back in the bank. I'll call the police if you try to go back in. And then I had to sit there. I couldn't move again with chest pain. I did give the copy to a minister who's terribly afraid. She told me she has to protect herself and her daughters, and she's got to protect her volunteers. She's at 10 Gateway in the Community Blood Bank, Reverend Helena. I said, please protect this. This could be taken on me. And they kept gone. And everything I find is taken on me. Then I found my checkbook with all these checks and amounts of money I'd been asking the bank, where is this? What is this? And I followed one up. And it was for Home Instead. And they were at Woodbine and Danforth. And I went there, and I bluffed my way. I said, I'd like a copy of this invoice. And she said, oh, yes, you paid for two. I had never heard of them before. Home service at my address here. She gave me the copy of the invoice. It wasn't my name at the top. It was this address here. I hadn't bought the place yet. I didn't live here. And she told me I paid for two. She got a phone call and told me she was a nervous wreck. Told me to get out. The invoice was gone from my purse overnight. Then I looked in this check memo where not my handwriting. A Sammy George, 3 post-dated checks, $1,700. I never heard of him. I never give post-dated checks. And I've been inquiring all these things. What is this? What is this 1,700? And because of my heart, each time I have to stop. I can only go so far, and my priority is to stay alive until this is exposed. And everything was piling up, all this checks. I don't know what the hell are. I didn't make them. I don't know anything. And I found all these names that I've never heard of before, not my handwriting. And look, they took that Home Instead out of my purse overnight. And they take everything away as I find it. This is strong enough that I can last enough to follow something through. And I've got a whole lot of telephone companies after me. They're called Ghostliner calls added to your calls, your phones. I got a cell phone from Rogers, and in 3 months, $600 I owe them. I didn't even have a cell phone. It was home sometimes, not charged. Not only that, it was stopped on March 25th last year, and they added another month on. It's up to $800, and now I'm being threatened with a company, a law firm, and I'm going to sue me. 800 and something now. And every telephone I get, these Ghostliner calls are added, and if you look at them, on the left side it says like I made 5 phone calls in like 20 seconds, and on the right it says I'm charged for 2 hours. Things like this. Extra wiring found all around my apartment. I pull it out, and the phone works a month later when someone plugs it in. I'm discredited in every single file, and all these hospitals. Sunnybrook, I had a whole lot of heart tests with blank tops. I accidentally got a hold of them, blank tops, and they're sent to other doctors and other hospitals, and they all have the same test but different tops. And to have gangrene in your abdomen, if you know how painful that was, slowly rupturing the appendix, the surgeon said, pockets of infection all over me, and he told me, this is most unusual. He said, pockets of infection all over me. And he says, you must have been in pain. He said it was garbage in there. I did drain the largest pockets under your right breast, he told me. And I was all denied. And then I found that here I had, when my appendix started to slowly rupture, I told you, I found on my records that I had abscesses, hiatus abscesses, and bacterial infection. All that agony going down me. And 7 months later, I had my appendix out. That's all the surgeon told me, and he denied all that. And then 15 months later, someone sent me the operative report. And it said I had gangrene pieces, got a burst bowel, and hardened bowel movement outside.